Am I the a-hole for telling my half-sister I am not responsible for helping her with her mother's care? My half-sister's mother is my dad's widow. They were married until his death a decade ago, but I was never close to her and had no contact with her in the years since my dad's death, and only had minimal contact with her in the years before he died after I left their house. Some of the big points of contention were money. Most of the money my parents had in theory was my mom's before marriage and was considered a premarital asset which she left entirely to me, in a bank account that only her parents had access to until I turned 18. The money from the actual marriage was entirely my dad's, and he got the house and stuff, which was in my mom's name. But the money I had was a large sum, and there were times we struggled and I didn't want it used. There was also the fact I did not want to use that money to help cover the cost when my dad's wife had breast cancer, to pay for treatment so they'd have no debt. Another thing was, she hated that I called her by her first name. Never mom, never mama, or some form of mom nickname. This was part of what made Dad and I so estranged as well. He was fully on board with me giving her a mom nickname. There was a lot of stuff too when my half-sister was born, and I had more extended family because my mom came from a close family, and my dad did not, and neither did his wife. I was low contact for about 5 years before my dad died, then no contact with his wife after. My half-sister and I have always had a strained enough relationship. She didn't like my lack of attachment to her mom, and was on team give my mom a mom nickname because she's your mom now too. So, she was telling me recently that her mom is sick and needs care, and it's expensive care. She felt we could split the cost, and I owed her mom that much and I owed her as a sister. I told her I won't be splitting the cost, and I am not responsible for helping her mother's care. That she is her mother's child, her only child, and that means it's on her. She told me I was so cold to the woman who was my mother for 10 years of my childhood. She also told me I could do it for her as her sister, a sister who was never the best sister, and can make up for some of that now. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Keep your money. If your dad got the marital home after your mom passed, I presume it went to your stepmother after your dad died. She can sell it if she needs to pay medical bills. Absolutely this. If she was left the house, you can bet the house has been left to her only daughter as well, so look after your own interests in this. By default, it goes to the spouse and then it is 100% hers. And at her death by default with no spouse, it goes to her heirs, which is only biological and adopted children. Only if there was a will it would change. Not the a-hole. You were deservedly cold to this person who stole the money your late mother left for you. That should have been invested in your future. You don't owe them anything. Their BS has cost you enough. They didn't actually get the money. They just tried to. Thank goodies your mom had a foresight to leave it accessible to your grandparents and not your dad. Not a-hole. She just wants your money. She doesn't care about you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter keep her sketchbook at my house after her mom looked through it without permission? So to start, I have 50-50 custody of my daughter Claire, 12 female, with my ex-wife Jessica. Jessica is married to Chris, 40 male, who has 2 kids, Addie 7 female, and Luke, 10 male. Claire spends 1 week at my place, 1 week with her mom. Sunday is the swap day. 2 weeks ago, Claire had a huge fight with her step-siblings. Apparently, they snuck into her room when she was away and went through her stuff, breaking some of her important items in the process, and Claire screamed at them when she found out. Jessica and Chris just wrote off Addie and Luke's behavior as kids will be kids, which I disagree. I think Addie and Luke need a reality check for their behavior, and that they shouldn't get away with it. However, they said that Claire's reaction was over the top, and a sign that there's something wrong with her. Jessica then decided that she needed to find out what's in Claire's head, and so she confiscated Claire's sketchbook, which Claire uses to get her feelings out, and went through it. Apparently, what she found was disturbing. Claire has showed me her sketchbook before, and no it isn't. But she took Claire to a psychologist for evaluation. Spoiler alert, they didn't find anything. My daughter is completely mentally healthy, save for, surprise surprise, stress from her step-siblings. Anyway, I got Claire last Sunday, and she spent her first few hours with me holed up in her room, sketching I think. At dinner, she told me what happened, and I surprised her with a pancake breakfast the next morning to make her feel better. Before I gave her back to Jessica, Claire asked me to keep her sketchbook at my house so her mom wouldn't look through it. I said yes, and she went over to her mom's place without it. Yesterday, I got a text from Jessica. She said that she was worried that Claire forgot her sketchbook because when she went to confiscate it, it wasn't where Claire usually keeps it. She then asked me to arrange a time and place for her to pick it up. I said that the sketchbook was with me and that I decided to keep it because I didn't want it confiscated again. I didn't want to throw Claire under the bus here, though in hindsight, lying probably wasn't the best idea. She said that I was being an a-hole because she has a right to her daughter's mind. I said that I was worried because of how she handled it the last time she went through it. She restated her previous point, and I did not respond. It's been about a day since that conversation, and I'm starting to question my choice. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and your ex has lost her marbles. OP, document everything. Everything. Their response to your daughter's very normal behavior and sibling stress is disturbing and suggests she's being scapegoated in that home, especially as they are excusing their other children's behavior as normal, which means that they are excusing other harmful behaviors too. Where will it end? I would encourage you to consult a lawyer and petition for full custody. You don't want to let this treatment continue, making your daughter out to be the villain in all of this. And this right to her mind nonsense is screaming mental health issues with your ex. I grew up in a house like this and wish someone had rescued me from this blame and erratic adult behavior. Your daughter needs you to step up for her now. Be the parent she's needing. Yes, thank you. She has a right to her daughter's mind. This is actually incredibly alarming. Not a-hole, and she's lucky to have you. I can't imagine what the daughter had to go through. Being called mentally ill for a sketchbook is insane. No one has a right to anyone's mind. Parents need to understand that kids need privacy too. Not a-hole. This is the equivalent of reading your child's diary. It is a boundary that should not be crossed in the absence of absolute dire circumstances, which you stated do not seem to be present. Keep being your child's advocate. They need an adult they can trust to confide in them and keep them safe. You obviously have your daughter's trust. Do what you need to do to keep it. Agreed. Not a-hole. It is her version of a diary, and a super creepy mom wants access to her daughter's mind. If mom keeps this up, her daughter will go no contact the minute she's able to. Keep being a great dad. Not a-hole. I think it's great that Claire has the support of at least one of her parents. Absolutely. And OP, keep looking out for your daughter. Kids need privacy and a safe place to get their emotions out. It sounds like your daughter is doing this with art. Your ex is potentially doing incredible damage to the kid, and so are the step-sibling/parent. I say this as a kid that never, ever, under any circumstance had any privacy. You know what that makes kids? Fantastic liars and very bitter/angry. Next story. Am I the a-hole for evicting my roommates after they threw a party without my consent? I, 29 female, have 3 kids, and last year, my husband/children's father passed away during open-heart surgery complications. I was a stay-at-home mom and always had been, so I had no idea where to start. I'd never had a job, and admittedly, I didn't even have my license. It was tough from every single angle, but in short, I needed help. So I decided to let my best friend Jesse, 30 male, and his wife Kim, 29 female, move into a spare room to help pay rent. I immediately went for my license that I passed first try and quickly got a job. During this time, my parents were helping with babysitting my kids, and thankfully within 6 months, I had become comfortable with the adulting lifestyle. But we were all still grieving heavily, as I never really gave myself time to process the loss of my husband, nor did my babies really grasp that daddy wasn't coming home, which made things much more difficult. So anyways, my roommates have been fine for the most part, but have recently started attempting to get me to party more, let loose, and have fun. Thing is, I'm still not even remotely comfortable with that, and I've expressed this multiple times. That, and I have some unresolved trauma involving men from my childhood. I don't really feel comfortable being around any guy while drinking. I'm working through that in therapy that I started recently, but there's a long road ahead. Well, I picked my girls up from soccer practice yesterday and brought them out for ice cream. We got home around 6 p.m., and there were 4 or 5 unknown cars in my driveway, and I could hear the music blared. I walk inside to find easily 10 plus people, mostly men, drinking, dancing, and partying with my roommates. I immediately turned off the music and told everyone to leave, and my roommates called me a poor sport and said I need to let go. Between them having strange drunk men and me and my husband's home around my girls and not respecting my boundaries and no partying in general, I decided to evict them this morning, where I had a lease already drawn up, stating I could evict them at any time with a week notice. I only gave them 7 days to be out, and I was within my rights to do so. They're saying I'm an a-hole for blindsiding them after all they've done for me, but them having drunk guys in my house around my daughters without even asking, knowing what I went through, was not a situation I would ever forgive. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not a-hole. You expressed your feelings about parties more than once, when one should be enough. They threw a party at a house with children. You are 100% not the a-hole. I'm very sorry for your loss and really proud of the way you have managed your life after such a tragedy. Not a-hole, Opie, not even a tiny bit. Even if you didn't have the trauma that you have and the grief that you have, it's still not okay for any roommates to have a big party in a shared home without everyone who lives there agreeing to it ahead of time. The fact that there is so much more to your situation makes your roommates' actions all the more horrible and thoughtless. Good riddance to them. Not a-hole. Most rental agreements give 30 days though, so the short notice is kind of jerkish. Even though I don't know why they think having 10 plus people you don't know in your home with young kids there is okay. They signed a rental agreement acknowledging they only had 7 days if evicted, and then said F her boundaries. There's nothing jerkish about applying known consequences to problems they created. That rental agreement means nothing if local laws say otherwise. Opie needs to know that this could hurt her legally. It's legal where I am. I already checked it out and have the eviction served by an officer. Not a-hole. So they knew the rules, and they could have easily done their partying at someone else's place. So good on you for enforcing the rules they agreed to. Make sure you change the locks the same day they leave, regardless if they give you back their keys. Also, if they have any access to apps including passwords like Prime Plus, etc. that you pay for, make the necessary updates to remove them and change the passwords. If you have any small valuables, I'd suggest making sure they are somewhere safe. Not to insinuate your former friends would steal, but ticked off people sometimes do stupid stuff. One other thing is whether or not you are home, remember, please to keep exterior doors locked. Train the girls to also do this, as well as don't open doors unless you know who is on the other side of it. I live in suburbs, and seems like at least once a month someone posts about strange people walking up, trying the door and then leaving. Last story. Am I the a-hole for prioritizing my wife over my own mom on Mother's Day? I, 38 male, have been married to my wife, 36 female, for 12 years. We have 2 daughters, 10 and 3. We both come from divorced families, and all of our parents have since remarried, though my mom's second husband passed away a couple years ago. My wife's parents are no longer local, but my mom and dad both live in the same metro area as us. I have a very good relationship with my dad and stepmom, and they are our sole support for helping out with the girls, while my mom and I have an up and down relationship as a result of a lot of things over a lot of years. Nothing excessive. Annoying stepdad, addict brother, grandparenthood not meeting her expectations. My mom also doesn't come by contentedness easily, and after years of running around to try and accommodate everyone, lately I don't always put in the effort I should with her, because often the effort isn't appreciated anyway. So for Mother's Day this year, I wanted to give my wife the day, but I didn't want to pressure her with coming up with a rigid plan. I asked her Friday if she wanted brunch or dinner made, and to let me know what she wanted to do with her day when she knew. I mentioned I would take the girls to see all their grandparents in the middle of the day, so she could have the house to herself if she wanted a piece, or we could do something as a family. Again, no pressure. Just let me know as we go and I'll make it happen. She tells me Saturday brunch sounds good, so Sunday morning, the girls and I run to the store for supplies, make brunch, set out the gifts. We eat and play for a bit, and the wife mentions I could take the girls. I call up stepmom and wish her a happy Mother's Day and ask if she's around. She is, so the girls and I stop by for a visit. Then I call my mom, and I can tell by how she answers the phone she's annoyed. I wish her a happy Mother's Day and ask if she's available for a visit. She is at her sister's for brunch and won't be home until later when the 10-year-old has activities. Fast forward to Monday, and I get a text from my wife that my mom had sent a screenshot of my wife's post on social sharing about her day and told her she had a terrible day and didn't feel the love from anyone. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for prioritizing my wife having a full day over doing something for my own mom? Not the a-hole. Your mother just seems to be upset she isn't the center of attention. Or maybe just feels a bit like an afterthought. It seems like Opie sort of generally made plans to see his parents at a certain part of the day and then didn't bother to check with them to make sure they were around. We know from the story that Opie had plans on Sunday to take the kids to visit Grandma, but it doesn't seem like Grandma herself ever got looped in. So after not hearing from her son about a visit, and probably wondering in the days beforehand if her children will do anything for her, she's with her sister and gets a call. Hey, can we come over? This is part of the day where we plan to see you. As if she is supposed to spend her day waiting around for company. Well, she did have lunch with her sister that day, and considering it's a strained relationship, it's nice that Opie still showed up with the grandkids anyways. And for her to be so petty to seek out Opie's wife is very low. She could have said so to her son. Why try spoil a happy memory of his wife's Mother's Day with her daughter's unloving husband? Not the a-hole. You rang up your mom and asked if she was free to see you and your children. Additionally, your wife and child are your family. All mothers should be celebrated, new and old. You did that. I think you did it in a fantastic way too. Prioritize his wife who is dealing with the kids day in and day out, but make sure he still pays respects to his mother and stepmother by bringing the kiddos by to see them as well. And at the same time, giving his wife some time to relax by herself. Seems like a win-win situation to me. Yeah, he literally acted this out perfectly. Especially with the context of all the Mother's Day gone wrong posts these days. Such a beautiful thing to see it done so well.